Good cloud. So, interestingly enough, I made the kind of comment about Caron being a listing agent for about 6 hours and she already looks fried. That was kind of in jest, but not really. It kind of follows up on a conversation that Brianna and I had by text today. But she said, she's been asking a lot of questions and having some struggles. And she said, am I the only one? Like, is it just me? And you guys need to hear this. No, no. Each and every one of you that are on this call right now, and some that are not, we if you guys compared notes, I think it would be pretty funny because we all talk all the time, and you probably all think you're the only one that is calling me and texting me with your questions and problems and everything else. But the reality of it is, and this is what I told Brianna, right now in real estate, if you're working, you're probably texting me because everything is very hard, right? The market's tough, clients are tough, the economy at large is tough, everything is hard. So when there's agents out there looking around the room right now, there's agents out there that don't text me and don't call me with any regularity. I know why. It's summertime and you're not working. That's why. So, the moral of the story is don't ever hesitate to call me. Don't ever hesitate to text me. Don't ever hesitate to reach out if you have a question or you're stuck or you want kind of a second look at something or a strategy take on something. Um, because number one, that's my job. And number two, it's tough out there. Like, I mean, even after I don't know how many years, 27, 8, I don't know, lots of years, 20 something years. This past year or two, I've seen things and dealt with things that I never thought I would have to deal with. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But that is what it is. And on the other side of this, is wonderful, wonderful things. We just have to get through to the other side of that. That's one of the reasons that we're here, right? So we talk about, and this is going to weigh heavy on the listing side of things, but it's also going to fall to the purchase side of things for agents. We talk all the time about, systems and when you go to a listing appointment or a seller consultation, you're going to tell them what the program is, and you're going to tell them what they need to do, and you're going to tell them why that's important, and you're going to spend a lot of time being the expert about how to sell real estate. And I think that that's probably most important, right? That's what sets you apart. That's what makes you different than, I don't have there's no science to it, but that's what makes you different than probably 80% of the people that hold a real estate license, right? Um, but then there's a whole nother uh, bit that we're going to talk about a little bit today. And I think that this is what takes you from like the top 20th percentile to probably like the top 5 percentile. And some of the topics I think are going to kind of be like, oh, yeah, I know that already, even though we don't talk about it a lot. It'll be a good reminder. But one of them I think is going to kind of blow your mind because um, you spend so much time listening to me and listening to me tell stories about my listings or my buyers and things that happen and everything else. And you've probably developed some kind of opinion about how I go to work. And most of it's probably right, but some of it might surprise you. So um, the goal for today is not really to walk away from here with any kind of you know, action items for tomorrow or for the day after, for the day after that. It's more about walking away from here and thinking about, all right, how do I kind of elevate and go next level? How do I get not just better than I was yesterday, but better than a whole lot of other people in the market? And how do I maybe sound different? right? Or maybe come off different? How am I a little bit more refreshing or surprising or whatever it is, right? We talked about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, we talked about finding out and identifying who you are as an agent and not deviating from that for any reason whatsoever. Uh, and I still stand by that. I believe in that 100%. So what we're going to talk about now is not so much chisel as it is polish, right? You with me? Defining who you are as an agent and setting those foundational qualities that you have, that's chisel, right? That's I'm taking big chunks out, I'm making big statements and defining who I am, what I do, how I go to work, how I talk, all of that. This is a little bit more nuanced and it's more like polish. All right. And this is going to be a lot more productive if you guys chime in. All right. If you guys chime in. So let's talk about the a really important part of the listing appointment, for lack of a better term. You just meet these people, or this is your second or third time meeting with these people. You're now in their house, right? You're sitting at the table. It used to happen in the living room, guys. Now it works in the kitchen. Okay. It used to always be the living room. I had this nickname, Lord of the Living Room, but now it doesn't work anymore. It's the kitchen, right? Like, so I guess it's got to be like king of the kitchen because that's where you end up. So we talk about this a lot. You go in, you have your program, you have your spiel, you have your book, you talk, you're ready for them to tell you no about everything, right? And you're ready to illustrate why things are important. We've worked on that a ton, and I think you're good at that. But how many of us do a really good job of finding out what is going on with the client? Questions like this: why are you selling? Where are you going? What is the timeline for that happening? Is it urgent or is it like long term, right? What happens if this don't work? What happens to you if it doesn't sell? Okay. And I don't ask that question, but think about that for a minute. I just assume that I'm going to go in and sell their house and everything's going to be great. And if for some reason it doesn't work out, they'll just get mad at me, fire me, and hire another realtor, right? But the last one I had, and I didn't even know it, it was a medical emergency. I didn't find out until we were under contract and in escrow. They needed to relocate because they had a health problem, right? If I would have dropped the ball and kept them on market for 6 months or not sold it at all, I could have really done them some damage. I didn't know that. I should have known that. What happens if your house doesn't sell? What's that look like for you? What improvements have you made? I think that we all do that. What are you most concerned with? Right? I think our default is that we always default, we think their biggest concern is price, right? That's their biggest concern. But is it really? Everybody has an opinion about what their house is worth. How did you get there? Where did you get that number from? What kind of work went into that number? Was it a quick look at Zillow? Or are you an engineer and you did like a deep, deep dive? And if I tell you something different, this is going to be a 45-minute conversation, right? Where are we in that process? What do they think that this should look like? Okay. I think we do a really good job of telling people this is how it's going to go. Okay. But I think it makes a lot more sense for us to ask them, what do you think this should look like? What does good work look like to you? Right? And I love this one. I got this one off of the internet. What would make this a 5-star experience? I kind of like that because at the end of every listing that you're successful, I hope that, like the day before they close escrow, you send them your Google review link and ask them for a 5-star Google review. Right? What we're trying to do here is we're trying to make sure that we address all of their concerns. the deep hidden ones that they don't necessarily talk about, right? We know that they're concerned about, how their house is going to be marketed. They want to make sure that it gets traffic and that's busy with showings. They want to make sure that it sells quickly, whatever that means to them, quickly, right? They want to make sure that they sell it for the highest price possible. I think they know, but they don't know that they want to make sure that they have good contract terms. All right. That's important, even though they say it's not, it absolutely is. They want to have good contract terms. We want to understand what happens to them, or they want us to understand what happens to them if it doesn't work out. Okay. And I think a lot of times they want us to know why what we're doing is important, how it affects the next step. Okay. I have to tell you, all of this stuff here right now, I'm terrible at it. I'm absolutely terrible at it. And as I read it, I think, geez, like I could be doing a much, much better job by getting to know what's going on with my client a little bit more. I think I operate under the assumption that if you called me here, you've got one goal in mind. And damn it, I'm going to get that done for you, right? And not only am I going to get it done for you, I'm going to get it done fast and you're going to make a lot of money, right? But let me give you an example again from the last listing, right? My assumption is, look, you want this done fast. That's why you hired me, right? When I put that thing into escrow after the first weekend, they said, well, we were kind of counting on having a little bit more time. Like, this is all moving way too fast. We need a little bit more time to transition here. And I'm like, dude, it's too late. Like, we're locked in. It's a 21-day close. It's a 5-day inspection. It's too late, right? That's what kind of sent me on this exercise, by the way, guys, because I didn't do a good enough job of finding out what was going on with them. I didn't know that we had potential health issues going on. I didn't know that selling it in the first weekend for, 80 grand over list price and getting them great contract terms and a 21-day escrow was going to be a problem. I thought that they would be happy. I didn't know it was going to be a problem. Okay. I clearly didn't know. I didn't know what they hoped the process would look like because they probably would have told me, yeah, it'd be great if we were on market for a few weeks and then we got an offer and maybe a 30 or a 45-day close. That would all be great. I didn't do that. Okay. And I think we can do a way better job of that. All right. Now, before we move to the next topic, you tell me. Number one, do you use any of this stuff or something like it? Number two, I want you to self-grade. Tell me whether or not you think you do a great job or a crummy job at this kind of stuff. I already know you do a great job at the other stuff. I already know that because we talk about it, you listen, you put into practice what we talk about in the meetings, and I know you're killing it. But what about the deeper dive? Who is really good at that part? You all jumped off camera and you're all muted now. That was you knew it was coming. You're like gone, 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 gone. So there she is. All right, come on, someone be brave. And it doesn't have to be a seller. Okay. I'm gonna always default to sellers, but this stuff works with buyers too, right? And by the way, I'm just as crummy with them. Like, if you come to me and you're a buyer, I assume that you want to buy a house right now and you want a great deal and you want a phenomenal location and you want me just to kick the you know what out of the listing agent and get you everything that you want. That's my assumption. That's what I assume that you want from me.
And we got the best inspectors, and we got all the inspections already set up, and all the that, and that inspector has all the other inspectors set up. So you just let me do my job, and I'm going to take care of you. That's all you
Yeah,
need to know. I'm
exactly.
taking care of it.
Yeah, stand over there. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right, let me hear it. What do you got?
All good.
Who go? Yeah.
I would say after looking at these questions, I would probably be like a C.
Mm-hmm.
I always ask, why are you selling? Where you're going, timeline, and then obviously improvements. I always ask them what price they think their home's going to sell at, and I will adjust from there.
I like that.
But I don't ask many of the other ones. I mean, ideally, the for me, always the goal is to get it sold as fast as possible once it's on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's everybody's goal, right? But I never,
Mine. Yeah, it's mine.
yeah, I mean, yeah, why wouldn't it be? But that is good to know, like, what happens if this doesn't sell? I like those deeper questions. What's your biggest concern? Um, I think I'm definitely trying to get better at asking more questions and listening more rather than talking so much at the listing appointment. They called you for a reason, so they obviously like something about you or you wouldn't be there. But I just in life tend to talk too much.
Yeah, me too. And or not at all. I tend to talk too much at work and I tend to not talk enough in the rest of my life. But um it's that there's so many adages for it. God gave you 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. You're supposed to talk 20% of the time and listen 80% of the time. I've told you guys about my trick that, the only thing that's really effective for me and gets me to shut up is number one, I have to realize that it's time to listen, right? And number two, I have to put my tongue on the roof of my mouth. If I put my tongue on the roof of my mouth, I can't speak, right? And so I'll put it on the roof of my mouth, and then when I want to speak, when I want to interrupt them and speak, I'll press on the roof of my mouth really hard, like, don't do it. I can't imagine what my face looks like sometimes to these people. They're probably like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? So we do have to get better at, what I've told salespeople in the past, which is, STFU, be quiet and let them tell you. A mentor told me a long time ago that if you can have enough discipline to shut your mouth, they'll tell you everything you need to know to win.
It's true. Yeah.
Mhm.
People tell me all kinds of crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They always have.
Tell you everything you need to know to win. All right. Anybody else? Okay. I want to spend a little bit of time on this, even though we talk about it all the time, because I think it is literally the most important point to be able to articulate for anybody that's going to do a listing in the next year. And that is, how good are you at explaining what overpricing is and why you shouldn't do it? Okay. How good are you at that? Because the way that the economy's going and the way that real estate prices are and everything right now, and considering what most people have been through in times that they can actually remember and they're going to refer to in their brain, their number is always going to be higher than what the real number is, what the actual number is. That's just where we are, right? That's where we are. Hell, I can't even get over it in my own head. I bought this house in 2021, two, I don't know, whatever. It's worth less now than when I bought it. Okay, that's all that I know. All right, I can't get that through my thick skull. I just can't. Like I refuse to accept it. Right? Think about taking them through. I mean, we all know that, if you overprice your house, it'll sit on market, nothing happens. Well, Damien's famous thing, nothing. What's going to happen if I overprice my house? Nothing. Nothing happens, right? We all know that there's two kinds of listings in the world. We've talked about it. The ones that are priced right and they sell in the first week, and the ones that are priced wrong and they don't sell, and then you end up chasing, right? I think we can articulate that. But I think what we need to get better at to go next level is you got to take them through it, right? You got to take them through it. Like, All right, let's go through the process of a listing that we miss on price, right? And that's important too. I don't say overpriced anymore. Okay. I don't say overpriced anymore because people get offended. Like, well, you think my price is overpriced. It's like combative. I just say if we miss it on price. If we don't nail it on price, here's what happens. What happens in week number one? If you miss it on price just a little bit, not a lot, not like 100 grand. If you miss it by like, you know, I'm going to use easy numbers because that's all I can do. The real aggressive Damien sells it in the first weekend price would be 499. It would sell for 525, right? The house is worth 510, $515,000. That's what it's worth. What happens the first week that you price it at 539? Right? It's kind of in there. 539. What happens? You get calls, it gets shown, right? People come through it on the open, right? There's activity, right? You keep having your fingers crossed, you keep having your fingers crossed. Something's going to happen, something's going to happen. It's going to be one of the good ones. Sunday rolls along, nothing. Monday rolls along, nothing, right? The excitement is gone. Now you're starting to get stressed. You're starting to worry about it. Your sellers are asking how the open houses go. Oh, we had a lot of traffic, but we don't have any offers. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Second, that but by the time you get through all of that initial opening thing, like 2 weeks has gone by. Would you agree? Right? Because you're doing all the follow-ups from the opens for the whole another week. Before you know it, it's Thursday, right? The new showing cycle starts. You're going to get a few more showings, people that weren't around last weekend and still on the market. So here they come. Or they think that everything sits on the market forever. So here they come. So the first couple of weeks, you got some decent showings. On the third week, now you're doing all your follow-ups, you're talking to other agents, and here's what I think happens on the third week. You start to have the conversations about it compared to other listings, right? Well, yeah, we like it, but a couple of the other, it's never like, well, your house versus the Main Street house. The Main Street house is better. This, no, it's never that. It's some of the other stuff we saw seemed to fit them a little bit better. They're realizing that the yard's a little small compared to some of the other offerings. They're realizing that it might need some updating. It's getting compared to the other things on the market. As soon as that happens, what do you know? You're screwed. Like, if they're going to start comparing it to the other things on the market, if they're going to take the time to analyze it to the other things on the market, what that really means, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is we didn't impress them. Because if we did impress them, they wouldn't compare it to anything. They'd just go, oh, I want it. Right? You don't walk up to a $600,000 Lambo and say, well, let me see how it relates to, an Aston versus a Ferrari. No, you either want it or you don't, right? Then you start getting all the questions. And what the questions really mean from other agents, what the questions really mean is, how much can I goose you for on price? Right? Like, well, what's your seller looking for? Well, are they looking to move right away? Do they have any flexibility in the reports? Are they willing to move out right away? Are they going to need a rent back? All of this stuff. When you start getting those, you got problems. But if it's still on the market after 30 days going into week 5, now you've switched to everybody thinking, okay, what's wrong with the house? Okay. And you will even have agents call you and say, hey, I saw your listing. It looks really good. Yeah, thanks, man. It's a great house. It's a fantastic location. We've got everything done on it. It's ready to go. Okay, yeah, like what's wrong with it? Why is it still on the market? Right? You know what my answer is to that and has been? My answer was to that, the one that I had on there that took like 50 days. It's overpriced. Just tell them it's overpriced. Otherwise, it would have been gone. Right? which leads right into what happens on week 6. Okay. That's about 45 days on market. You need a reduction and you need a big one. And we've talked about that before, right? How that goes. And now you're in chase mode. Now you're in chase mode. If you're lucky enough to nail the reduction, you might avoid what happens in the next couple of weeks, which is all the low balls, right? If you're able to get any at all, they're going to be low. The point is this. That's a very long conversation about what happens over a period of time specifically to a seller, right? I don't do that. I should do that. It would probably be more effective. What I do now, and I think is effective, but it's nowhere near that effective. What I do now is I bring up different listings as an example. Like, see this one? You want to know what happened with this one? This one was on the market for 4 days. It had 7 offers and it sold for 25 grand over list price. You want to know what happened with this one? Nothing. It's still there, right? Nothing happened at all. Which one do you want, right? And I think that's effective, but it's nowhere near as effective or, it doesn't go as deep into what happens if you miss it on price. Do you see what I did there? I didn't say overpriced. If you miss it on price, right? I need another listing
Fantasy
appointment
price.
so I can try it. What, Michael?
AI says fantasy price.
Fantasy price, yeah.
Fantasy price.
Did
And
your did your Terminator say that?
yeah, and so this is, the guy asked me at the art show, right? And why is this listing, still here? And
That's right. That's
and
right.
then so they wrecked it at the launch and never recovered, and the price history tells the whole story, right? And so if it's launched at a fantasy price, then the it's blown right out of the gate, and then from
Yeah.
all you got there is a stigma for the rest of the time, unless you just start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the robot says.
Mm-hmm. Or hit it hard, like really, really hard, right?
4 reductions says, three to how many reductions was it? This one has 4 reductions in 65 days. It says that's not a pricing strategy. That's chasing the market, and the buyers know it. Every cut signals something's wrong here, even if nothing is. Now the listing carries a stigma that price alone cannot fix. As like you said, you know all the details because they keep call you with all those questions.
They really had 4 reductions in 60 days. You're on mute. You're muted.
Yeah, that's accurate. That is just for that one that I was looking at.
I mean,
And
I might have had another answer for him. Why is my listing not selling after I looked at all that? I might have had another answer for him that was 100% related to the agent. It might not have been pleasant. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, guys. I had to use AI on this one. Okay. What do you think the first 5 things that buyers notice is? You tell me, I'll make it easy for you. 3. What are the first 3 things that buyers notice when they tour a house?
the pictures match the house.
Pictures match the house. Okay.
Curb.
Well, what is it? Curb appeal? Curb appeal? Okay. Who else? It's going to blow your mind. No one else wants to try? Okay. Here's the top 5 things that buyers actually notice first. Number 1, smell. Number 2, my pet peeve, temperature. Number 3, lighting or lack thereof. Number 4, flooring. It's in the top five. Flooring. Number five, clutter. Okay. What most people think they notice first, the top three answers for what do you think people notice first? The top three answers are granite or quartz, brand of appliances, and paint color. But they don't. Smell, temperature, lighting, flooring, clutter. So, two of these are my pet peeve. Okay. And I'll tell you why. All right. Let's go with smell. Not my pet peeve consciously, but probably my pet peeve subconsciously. Smell. There was a real estate agent when I was a kid, my best friend when I was 8 years old in Loomis. My best friend's two parents worked for Century 21 in Loomis, and they were sharks. They owned like the entire county at the time, right? There was only 12 people in the county, but they owned it, right? And Sherry, Mrs. Howard, Sherry was the queen of the open house. And at every open house that she did, she would put drops of vanilla on tinfoil and put it in the oven. Every time. Every single time. So it would smell like cookies in the house, right? She was onto something. Temperature. This is really important if you're doing listings. If it's occupied and you set up a block of showings in July, you have to tell your seller, number one, turn on every single light in the house before you leave. That's number three, lighting. All right. Number two, put the air conditioner on like 40. All right. I don't care if your PG&E bill is $1,000. I don't care if you like it, but we like it at 78. Nobody else does. I don't care what you have to do. Put it on 40. Like, do you have a setting that's just got a snowflake? Put it on that. That's what I want it on. Okay. You can put it back up to Sahara Desert when you get home. But if we're doing showings or we're running an open house or you're taking off for the weekend and you're gonna, like there's gonna be showings coming in and out of your house, you're going to Tahoe for the weekend, put it on 40. Or you can all control it from your phone now. I want it on 40 from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then you can put it on Sahara Desert for the rest of the night. In the wintertime, it's just the opposite. When it's cold and foggy and rainy and snowy outside and we've got showings, I want it set at 120. That's what I want. Okay? Like, no bullshit, 120. And not right before you leave because then it's still going to be 32 when they get to the door. You got to set it on 120 an hour before you go. This is the most important thing that nobody does. Nobody manages climate. All right? But dang it, we're moving out. Okay? We're moving out and we're not going to be able to manage the temperature. I literally told this to our last client in Newcastle, right? We don't live there. I said, great. I want Wi-Fi and I want two nests, one upstairs and one downstairs, because I'll do it. Okay. But you've got to give me internet and you've got to give me thermostats that I can run from my phone. Well, I did. I said, do you want your house to sell? It was cold. It was winter. It was raining. It was gross. Like, there's fog, like, come on. I need it hot. Do not forget about the temperature control. Do not forget about the lighting, right? Change the damn light bulbs. Put in those ones I have in my kitchen that are supposed to be like the sun that everybody hates, but they give you the vitamin D through the light bulb. Put in those everywhere in the house so that when you turn on all the lights, right, it looks like, that's what we want.
A full spectrum lamp.
Okay, yeah, those, yeah. Flooring. Well, we're just going to leave it because then whoever moves into it can put in whatever they want. Okay. Or, well, we can give them an allowance. Or, well, we like it. Okay, no, it doesn't matter. None of that matters anymore. None of that matters anymore. What matters now is You need to put in the flooring that everybody else likes. And you need to put in the flooring that's going to make everybody else happy. It's not about you anymore, right? And if your carpet is grody or like got things pulled or it's got stains or it smells or what you have to get rid of it. And if you can't afford it, you need to dial up NextHome Refresh because flooring is number 4, right? And I didn't even know that. Flooring is number 4. Okay. And then number 5 is clutter. Clean your damn house, right? I don't want to see anything. You may have to have a conversation with them because their definition of clutter may not be the same as your definition of clutter, right? Smell, temperature, lighting, flooring, clutter. Talk to them about those things. By the way, those are all extremely uncomfortable conversations. So have fun with that. Okay? Have fun with that. All right. Last one. This is the one that I think that is going to surprise you. If I talk to the last 3 agents that you dealt with, what 3 words would they use to describe you in doing business with you? What 3 words would they describe about doing business with you? I'll give you some suggestions, but please tell me the truth, right? Would they say you're responsive? Would they say you're professional? Would they say you're organized? Would they say you communicate well? Would they say you've got good problem solving skills? Would they say you're impossible to get a hold of? Would they say that you don't return phone calls? Would they say that you're a little bit unhinged? Would they say that you're rude? Would they say that you're bossy? Would they say that you're a know-it-all? Would they say that you're too aggressive? What would they say? So the real overriding question is, are you easy to do business with when it comes to another agent? Now, I get crap for this one from the person I live with all the time because you see me in training and coaching mode, you see me in killer mode, you see me in all kinds of modes that you form an opinion about, right? At the end of the day, though, I want every agent that does a transaction with me or that relates that communicates with me or we have some kind of discussion, I want that agent to go, that guy's a pro. That guy I want to deal with. Over and over again, I want to do business with him. I want to do transactions with him. All right. And maybe I want to work with him, but that guy's a pro. Am I 100% successful? Absolutely not. Okay. But you tell me right now, last 3 agents you've dealt with, give me 2 words they would use to describe you. Be honest. What would they say? You don't know. Okay. Good.
I pride myself on being organized, so I hope that's what comes off. But also friendly. I feel like negotiations don't have to be fighting. If you are friendly and professional, they're gonna want to work with you to find a solution.
Absolutely correct. Don't let me forget about an important point after everybody's done about negotiating. Okay. Michael, come on, man. You just dealt with 6 of them. What would they say about you?
The last one, was canceled, so he probably not very happy. So, but the one before that, the one before that was, he was like a disaster. So, I thought that went pretty good. He really was a confidence builder for me, because I don't think anybody could be worse than this guy.
Yeah.
The first one, if I compare that all to the first one I was like terrified. I was like, oh my God, this lady is a psychopath. And I'm like, I felt like I was cowering in every corner, and then so, yeah, I try to becoming more, professional and, instead of just saying, I'll call you right back because I have to call you and ask, what I'm going to say next. I try to give them some kind of a professional, non-committal response.
Right. Well, yeah, but
Try to be responsive.
you mentioned something that's really important, and that is the agent before last that you dealt with, you felt like you had to cower in a corner and she was a psychopath. So, I mean, there's your report card on her. Somebody tell me why, does anybody else that's not on camera and just on microphone want to tell me what the last couple agents would describe you as? I would hope that the last 11 agents that I dealt with on this last transaction would say the guy is professional and the guy is fair and calm, right? Like everybody's freaked out, everybody wants the house, everybody's writing offers, everybody's going crazy, and Damien was a pro and he was calm and he was fair. Like he did not turn this into what it could have easily turned into. So why is this important? The way that we relate and the perception of us from other agents. Why does it matter? Especially, you're in this long enough and there's a certain kind of listing agent that we've all had to deal with, right? You make a phone call or an inquiry on their listing, and I don't want to get into too many details, but you just get a lot of attitude and like a lot of condescending attitude over the fact when you're actually trying to sell their property and do everybody a service by getting their property moved. And you just get this uppity kind of condescending attitude, like you're almost like you're bothering them or they're going to show you or tell you what's up, right? Why is it important that we're not like that? I don't think it's the reason you think.
Well, I mean, for me, ultimately, we all want the same thing. We should all be working towards the same goal. So, fighting the whole way makes the whole process so much less enjoyable and smooth as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a small town. If you are not putting out a good reputation for yourself, that's hard to rebuild.
I think that if you work on your reputation with other agents, because we all still operate mostly in small towns, and Sacramento is a small town. I don't care what anybody says. Okay. Everybody knows everybody. If we work hard with our reputation with other agents and we have good interaction with other agents, that information somehow, some way trickles down to the public. Okay. On the other hand, if we have a reputation, a nasty reputation, or a reputation as a terrible person or whatever, pick a word. I can't even think of one right now. I also think that that trickles down to the public, right? So part of your spreading goodwill and spreading who you are and how you do business, we spend more time talking to other agents than we do the general public. So you've got to really focus in and start to think about elevating your reputation and your presence with other real estate agents. And there's good reasons for that transactionally too, right? Like I truly believe that if I list a property, I will get more people that come just because there's a bunch of real estate agents that I've dealt with over the years that want to sell my listing. Even if it doesn't fit their clients' needs exactly, they want to sell my listing because they know it's going to be a good transaction. It's not going to be full of BS. I'm not going to treat them like crap. I'm not going to lie to them. I'm not going to try and trick them. I'm not going to try and pull a fast one on them. They want to sell it, right? They absolutely want to sell it, and vice versa. If I'm repping a buyer and I've got 3 listings to sell, and two of them are listed by someone that I don't really care for, and one of them is listed by one of my favorite agents, we're going there, right? So reputation is important with real estate agents within the community, but more importantly than that, and what you might not think of is I think it trickles down, right? Because it's a small town, everybody talks, everybody hears, you know, two real estate agents are talking about another scumbag real estate agent and while the server's dropping the salad, okay? Or you're waiting in line at Best Buy, right? And there's seven people behind you and they can all hear. They're all listening, right? And they're name dropping you and talking about what you did, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I want them to say when they're in a line at Best Buy? God dang it, man. Showed Damien Batista's listing. He did it. He did it again. He had another freaking 11 offers on the house. We were offer number 11. You know, he was really cool about it, but we just didn't get the house. And that damn thing's probably going to sell for 80 grand over. I want everybody to hear that. Everybody, right? Who is that guy? One more thing I want to tell you about that's not related but is related about negotiation. And guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm a hard-ass negotiator. You know that. Okay? But the way that you go about it matters. I just settled a dispute that was 2 years old, maybe 3 years old. $80,000. Okay? Buyer, buyer bought a house. I don't know how much I can say. Buyer bought a house. There were some things that weren't properly disclosed. There was a problem with the inspections. Okay. Buyer hires a lawyer. Really, really good one. And here we go. All right. We settled it this morning. Okay. Uh, Clearly, there was a lot of back and forth. Okay. A lot. And the attorney was a really good one. I mean, she's a really good one. Right. And she went after me a few times and, I just, hey, no, it's not going to go that way. It's going to go this way, but I'm going to stand firm. This is how it's going to go. So at the end of it, she sent me an email after I said, hey, look, we agree. Let's do this. She sent me an email and said, I just want to say thank you. And I'm like, okay, what for? And she said, this could have gone a much, much different way, but you never took your eye off the ball. You never got unprofessional. You kept working towards a solution. You're kind of a pain in the rear sometimes, but you kept working to a solution and we got it done. And I said, like Brianna said, we all want the same thing. Okay. I might want a little bit more than you want, but we all want the same thing. So, yeah, how we interact with each other, how we interact with other agents, even when things get hard, it's important. And it trickles down to the general public. I'm pretty sure that this situation is going to come up with her hanging out at her lawyer bars or whatever else. And I'm pretty sure that some of those lawyers are going to be probate and divorce attorneys. So talk about me all you want. All right, 349. What do you got? Anything to add? Anything to not add? If you don't have anything else to add, I'm going to click the button and get you out of here so that you can turn on your air conditioner and try and stay cool. Anybody got something to add? Nope. All right. I'm going to click it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll see you guys later. Have a good weekend if I don't talk to you.